you can argue that a lot of restaurants or bars can capture some data from bookings or from Wi-Fi or whatever. QSRs is much harder because the time they spend there is just so much.
I want to get in and have my lunch.
Yeah,
I want to get my lunch, get out.
Or the coffee and then see you later, right? So the touch points are very limited. So I was always okay, if we can nail this, opportunity is massive, right?
1, 2, 3, 4. Welcome to Captive Conversations. I'm your host, Adam from Captive Wi-Fi. Join us as we dive into behind-the-scenes stories of hospitality leaders exploring tech, operations, and marketing through the eyes of the experts. Let's get the inside scoop together.
Hello, everyone. Today we have Frederick from Embargo. Thank you for coming. As you can see from this t-shirt, or his jumper, sorry, he's got the merch. He's got the merch with him. So thank you for coming. We've got some exciting things coming up, but we can talk about that later. And I'm really excited to listen and understand more about the things that are happening, the more about the conversion and stuff that you're doing, which is really exciting. So, and the journey really, because we've got something similar in the past with what you used to do. So I'll team when you get there. But let's just go. We're going to go full steam ahead. So we'll go with the questions from Susan from Kitsch Social. And the first question was, which brands or tech are you looking to outside of hospitality?
Well, I mean, first of all, thanks for having me. A real pleasure. I've seen tons of fantastic people here already, so great to be part of that. Great question, and I'm happy she didn't ask about a tech solution in hospitality, because it's always hard to answer that question because I'm probably too biased. In terms of solutions or tech outside, I mean, I'm a massive fan of Airbnb. I think, what the founder has done and the user journey, this sort of like 11-star experience focus, the building with empathy for single user focus is just mind-blowing. I think, no other sort of booking / experience / hotel / travel solution out there can come even close to this. I think they're doing a fantastic job, and I also think the journey they've gone through is just insane. How they went into COVID where everyone thought it's just the end of Airbnb, and then how they downscaled but then just became so much bigger and so much more powerful and just better at everything. I think everyone can learn. I hugely recommend any podcasts and videos with Brian Chesky, the founder, and just like as you use the app, as you use the solution, how great it is. It's just mind-blowing.
Cool, amazing. I think it is, Matt, to be fair, and the story is pretty awesome. How the whole thing we even thought about or created and then just exploded, because it just exploded, didn't it? So this is the really good idea, let's do this, and it went like crazy.
But also his story, how all his rejections came about when he was raising his first proper round, and the stuff people were saying, like the market is not big enough. This guy is generating more revenue than some countries have in the last year. There was so many other things that the people said, and I think it's such a valuable lesson for a lot of founders out there. Whatever they do, it's just just keep going, because usually the greatest ideas people just don't get at first. So
100%. I agree with you. I will start listening to some little pods about them. I think that story is amazing. Okay, what is your unpopular opinion in hospitality? Kiosks, I'm kidding.
No, my unpopular opinion is, and it's something that one of my friends who actually launched a extremely successful restaurant a company said, that actually hospitality isn't that hard. And it's probably something that is completely unpopular, because I think we spend a lot of time talking how hard it is, and I agree. I used to run hospitality businesses. I literally, I had a very long chat today with John Richardson, obviously one of the probably most respected and well-known coffee shop expert consultant in the country. And obviously it's never been harder. But I think there is still a lot of opportunities out there. And I think there's a lot of things that, you can see how some of the brands that just scale and just do so well are nailing. I think maybe saying hospitality is easy is definitely, maybe simplifying it enough. and it's simplifying it too much, but I still believe that there is a lot of mistakes that can be avoided and a lot of opportunities that can be, taken advantage of. And I think, especially if we study the last couple of years, where different sort of challenges and the obvious crisis and changes have really almost forced hospitality entrepreneurs to develop, to change, to innovate. And yeah, I was literally saying this earlier today that we've never had so much new business or so many new venues joining the platform. There are simply new sites of existing customers. Whilst, obviously everywhere you read about it is about obviously the closures, etc. But it's a very polarized setup at the moment. You have businesses shutting and but you have as many opening. It's crazy actually.
Yeah. It's weird. I think throughout the years, you always find there'll always be some that will churn. Right. There'll always be some because the product didn't work. But the brands that are succeeding are using the right technology to help them succeed, right?
Yeah, or in general, I always say that I think, innovation doesn't always mean only technology. I think innovation and adaptability, can be in every spectrum, in every part of the business. So again, it was sort of, I don't think hospitality is easy. There was more of a job, but I do think that, my unpopular opinion is that a lot of businesses out there overcomplicate things or don't utilize the tools and opportunities that are out there. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I have a lot of sympathy as well for a lot of businesses that were very unlucky with, terrible landlords that they made them, stick with a location that used to be, with massive footfall and highly revenue generating. Now it's terrible and they don't want to adjust. They don't want to help the entrepreneur. And, I've seen a lot of them. So I have a lot of empathy for this because the world has changed. And to be honest, I think, the whole tenant landlord setup has been a massive issue for a lot of business with sites from pre-COVID that now are just useless and they need to make it work. So yeah, but still, the further we go, I think the more opportunities there are.
I agree. Okay, we're going to go on to standard questions. So the first two is best hospitality experience.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to focus on more, I'd say, fine dining or evening dining, given that, we work with mainly daytime operators, coffee shop, bakeries, brands. I don't want to be in,
You don't want to get
a couple of vocals. I want to get in trouble. However, I think, there's always two restaurants that I hugely recommend to anyone, whether they visit in London or they just ask for my sort of view. I think the Palomar in Soho is absolutely mind-blowing to me. I think it's just every part of the experience is so good. If you haven't been, book a spot at the counter so you can see the theater. I think it's always like a fairly small menu. Every dish is fantastic, a nicely prepared cocktail menu, small but fantastic selection of wine. Like everything there is not shouting, is not flashy. It's just the quality of everything.
And it's fantastic.
It's very consistent. Yeah. And the second one is Chotomate.
I love it.
I think, back in the days when I still worked in hospitality and my office was in Mayfair. I was there a lot. Like I thought it was just the perfect place to go for, a bit of food and drinks before going out or celebrate someone's birthday or, I don't know, a date, whatever that was. I think it's just so fantastic. And what Will Noble and his team have done with the food, with the ambience, the music, the whole experience is just incredible. And again, what I think is really worth noting, I think there's a lot of restaurants or had been over the last years that had beautiful food experience, but not all of them were very successful businesses. I think, Chotto is just killing it, scaling. And yeah, I'm so ever impressed with what Will and the team have done, because to build a spot like Chotomate in Soho is one thing, but to scale this and keep that quality, momentum, and every restaurant they open is just
what's coming next?
For them,
Manchester.
I know. Well, that's
going to be awesome.
Well, that's part of the world where he comes from. So I guess it had to happen eventually.
Yeah,
I'm still looking forward to one restaurant from his portfolio I really want to visit is the one in Miami. I think I've only seen it in pictures and videos, but it seems like the most beautiful restaurant in the world. So.
Yeah. Well, San Fran's open, and that's like the up on the roof, and it's just crazy. But yeah, I'm with you. I have probably the funnest memorable experiences
Giottomato.
Yeah,
And eating upstairs and then just finishing off at the bar downstairs.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Yeah.
No, it's such an inspiration, I think, for anyone.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Now we have best hospitality tech, but no self-noms. So this could be something you've used or anything. You know,
Absolutely.
it could be something on holiday to move it out of the way. But yeah, generally.
No, I think again, I think there's a lot of great tech out there at the moment. You know, from several POS systems that are very good, and I think there's probably 2 or 3 that are really leading the way. But again, I'm going to try to talk about tech that isn't so much related to the sort of typical customers we serve. I'm really impressed with what 7 Room have done. So I think 7 Rooms just it was something I remember when it launched. My thinking was, okay, well, another booking platform, like there's just so many, and OpenTable seems to be just killing it. You obviously Design by Night really nailing that, the more casual dining / wet-led businesses, so the pubs and bars. It's just like, okay, like why would this work? But again, it's about, if you see it as a market, if you see it as a demand, you just nail the customer experience, the service and everything around this, like you can become massive. Like what they've done is fantastic. Really impressed. I think the product is great. I mean, I've used it as a consumer. I know a few sort of, restaurant entrepreneurs that use them and really, recommend them. I haven't been using them so as a business, so I can't obviously vouch for that, but it seems like it's awesome. And yeah, just again, an inspiration that you don't always have to, come up with the next invention. It's just about something, finding a big market that even is already using certain solutions, but if you can make it significantly better, man, it's just insane what you can achieve. And I think they're just showing this.
I think it's interesting when you find there's always problems. I hate the word problem. In my mind, I've always
challenges.
But there are problems to fix. Like, so we built Captive to fix a problem because there wasn't the solution we had was broken. So I hate that word. But there are, in reservations, there's still problems that aren't fixed. Like the booking widgets are still pretty clunky and weird. So I think when 7 Rooms came out, it was and also the whole concept of not charging per cover. It's a no-brainer. But yeah, I think there is a beast of a platform. I think the granularity of what you can do within it, the tags you can do within it, you can really, really customize that profile, and that shines in it. And I love the VIP. You get little VIP text message. You book somewhere, even if it's not super high end now, because they have loads.
No, but there's the thing. They started with a very clear ICP, which is high end.
Yeah,
and they nailed that. And then obviously, when you nail that sort of ICP,
high end's hard, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because that's what I said. Why it's so impressive to me. In general, any text in any technology in high end and fine dining, high end restaurant bars is I think terribly hard. And if someone succeeds within that space, I'm beyond impressed. But they had that clear vision. Okay, we want to build a reservation system for these type of customers, and we're going to adapt this to them. I think the same what Nick Telston has done with Design by Night. It was like we want to offer this to wet-led businesses, where you have events, where you have, he found that niche and he just nailed the product to be exactly what these businesses are looking for. The bars, the pubs, and then casual dining, at the later stage. And I think that's, again, it doesn't matter, can be massive players in there. But the bigger you become, sometimes you lose the touch with certain niches, and you can come in and take it and then just really create a sub niche, which then is still big. And then what happens usually, because you become this more modern, cooler kid on the block, you start attracting the other side of that industry you're selling to. So
it spreads throughout, right?
Exactly.
So I give anyone props to put stuff into high end. It's not
easy.
no, not at all. But it's interesting. And they've now adapted, right? So now they're more into CRM. They're adding more bolt-ons into the product, and it's continuous innovating, which is really nice to see. Okay, we're gonna go back in time. We're going to go back in time, and we're going to start with where you were. Now, my researcher, Mr. ChatGPT, on the deep research, says to apparently, you start on the ground floor of hospitality, and it says Joe and the Juice and becoming head of marketing at 21. But before,
but it wasn't Joe and the Juice head of marketing. I started at Joe and the Juice. But definitely I was not a head of marketing at Joe and the Juice. I wish.
It didn't say where actually, but let's start at the beginning. Where did you
did you before that? Did you start at younger or before that? Were you on the ground before in the beginning? Like, were you working hospitality, or where did it start?
So my journey was this, and that's going, probably one step back. I'll try to cut it short. I was born in Germany, in Hamburg, but I grew up. So I went to school between the age of 7 and 19 in Poland, because that's when my dad set up a business. And interestingly enough, I'm not that tall, but I play basketball professionally at the top level in Poland.
Oh, wow.
So, which at that point was probably like top 5, top 7 leagues in Europe. So it was like a kid's dream come true. Everyone had told me that, oh yeah, this kid got skills, but he's not going to be told I have to play at the top level, right? But I said, well, you watch me. And yeah, I got there. It was super, I guess, exciting for me. But when I turned 19, I was heading into my second season at the top league, top divisions, like let's say the equivalent of Premier League in basketball. And in Poland, I was sort of thinking, okay, do I now want to, I guess, devote my next 20 years or whatever, 15 years to that? Or is this the last move where I can change, my career or where I'm going? And the thing is, I had always gone to English schools. So for me, it was like, you know what, if I'm not going to play basketball, I can go anywhere I want. And maybe it's time to go somewhere to an English speaking country. And to be honest, I had never been, I was 19. I had never been to London before that. And I just went, let's just move to London. And I flew over a fifth, maybe 2-3 months later after I made that decision, backpack on some friends, family couch, trying to sort out my life, enroll to uni. But my parents made it very clear. I mean, give me a little bit just to get by for the first few weeks, a few months. But that was also my decision. Said, look, if I'm making a decision, I want to go to London. I cannot expect you to sponsor me living in London. So I started looking for a job, and my first real job, apart from a short part-time thing, was Join the Juice.
Okay.
I had never planned to stay in hospitality. For me, it was I just need to work somewhere to pay my rent and then to live somehow as a 19-year-old on my own. I'd never been before. Literally, it was pretty mad. And to live alone, I fell in love with.
Did you have people you knew here? I obviously have friends.
It was, to be honest, it was my mom's friends, family I'd never met before, who allowed me to stay on the on the couch. It was meant to be just a few days, ended up being a couple of weeks. I mean, I treat them like family till today for everything they've done for me at that point. I had a couple of sort of friends, but no, I was ultimately just me and Google Maps. That's it. So Join the Juice became the place. I mean, I still remember, when I walked into that interview with Morten Basser, which is the cousin of the founder, who ultimately was in the co-founding team as well of Join the Juice, and he was interviewing me. And yeah, I think that was one of the first moments where I was like, wow, hospitality is insane, because I walked into that Regent Street original store in from the UK operation in there, and I saw like the music, cool people behind the bar, the ambience and everything was so sick about this. And I go, wow,
it was very different as well, right?
Wow, what a brand, and the product and everything, and then I got a chance, and I think that's what I really fell in love with the business, and I think at that moment I almost switched, and I ended up going to uni for only a year, but it almost switched. Was like, this business is insane, and I loved it. But at the same time, I remember a few months later, I emailed Morten, who was at that point, the country manager or director for UK, and I said, you guys have this most epic brand in the world. Like, seriously, this has so much potential. And I sent him like a 20 or 25 pages deck on what I think they could improve, what I think they could do with the brand, with the marketing, with the training around the consumers and everything. Because I thought more people need to know about what you're building. Like, I still have this deck, and I actually emailed Morten and said, no, you'll regret I think you'll regret it if you don't meet me. At that point, you're just one of those guys just interviewed to just, earning $650 gross per hour, just smash those juices and don't complain, right? So in that meeting with me, and I think that was, again, we started talking, obviously.
I'm just going to go back. So where did the marketing piece come from before that? Like, was it just
I was really into it. I mean, my dad had a marketing agency, more in sports, but
you were
still
born into it.
but for me, it was just, I don't know, it just felt like it's just such an untapped potential. Obviously, now in hindsight, it seems like I did have a good feeling about this, because obviously Join the Juice is probably, in terms of branding, like the most, outstanding QSR brand out there. I think no one can compare me.
you can discuss some whatever metrics, financial, but on the branding, on that sort of branding,
It's cool.
like the whole experience, what it stands for, it's pretty cool. And I think that was my thinking. Is like, oh my god, there's so many businesses out there. Some are better, some are worse. There's some which are epic, like Joe and the Juice, but there's so much they can do. At that point, they said, look, I mean, our review is no marketing. We just open shops, serve good products, and that's what it will do.
What was the meeting like? You said you met him.
Yeah. We met him because, I mean, last time he saw me probably was when he was interviewing me. And I mean,
So was it after? So you said it in the deck, and then what?
No. So first he hired me just to be a juicer, and then I think a few months later, and then he met with me. We went through it. He said, "Look, we don't really like. I'm not going to hire you in the marketing because we don't really have a marketing team." At that point, Joe and the Juice was like, "Look, in Scandinavia, we just open shops, have a great product, cool people working, and that's all we have to do." And the thinking was, well, this is what we're going to do in London. Again, now fast forward, you see that they've completely changed the view, but it made sense. They were starting in London. They were learning, and not learning, but trying to understand what's the best way to scale in the UK. And obviously, they've done a great job. But I think he went through it. He thought it was great. He allowed me to introduce a couple of things. He gave me like a training manager position, so I could train all the new guys and also be involved in the hiring process, so that whatever I put there as a brand guideline and then what Joint Juices should stand for, they can somehow, I guess, embrace during those trainings. But I got a crazy pay rise from $6.50 an hour to $7.50 an hour gross. So that felt at that point like a lot. But whilst being there, and I was a lot in the Kings Road store in Chelsea because that's where we did all the trainings of new employees. I ended up meeting so many great people. Like I let you walking from Sloane Square to the store in Kings Road. Like every third, every fourth person say, "Hey, how you doing?" Because I generally wanted to get to know every customer and then try to understand what this business is all about and how that customer relationship is built and what it means and how it impacts and how to build a community around that shop. I didn't have the tools or know-how how to build a bigger scale, but I thought, okay, well, that's literally my shop. That's my sanctuary. I want to build a community that no one goes there. I would do crazy stuff. I would literally, I would get people walking in with a friend who want a sandwich from Juice or Juice, but walk in with a Starbucks coffee or whatever, Nero coffee. I would literally go to them and say, "Hey, what are you drinking there?" Because at that point, like, we were very into coffee and latte art and everything. Yeah. And what are you drinking there? And you would tell, "Oh, it's whatever. It's a cappuccino." I said, "You know what? I'm going to make you a coffee, right? It's on the house. Yeah. You're going to throw this one away.
Yeah.
If it's better than what you just had, promise me you're coming tomorrow and after tomorrow and after, and the following day for the cappuccino here, and you're never going to go to Starbucks." And we'd do stuff like this. Yeah. And it would work.
That's true hospitality,
yeah,
right?
And it would work.
Yeah.
It would, but then I think the sort of side effect of this was like, all of these people they became friends, started inviting me to the dinner parties and events and birthdays and all of that.
Well, you're in a King's Road now, man. So.
and
right store to be in.
And it was just hilarious.
At least it wasn't Wimbledon or something.
No, yeah, right. But the funny thing was that because I was so not into, I wasn't yet aware of, let's say, the whole celebrity or like, whatever TV scene in the UK, because I was a 19-year-old, just moved here a few months ago. And then it would sometimes be quite randomly, like I would have met someone, became friends, or would hang out, and then maybe a few months later, when suddenly we're sitting somewhere, like outside of my work, just catching up for a coffee, and there will be paparazzi taking pictures, like by the way, like who, like what you do that, and then there would turn out to be some like TV stars or like this, like people who I just wouldn't know. But one person I met at that point was a PR director of Tonteria, which at that point was obviously one of the most successful and famous night lounges and nightclubs and bars in Chelsea and West London in general. And we just became friends. I met a lot of her friends. She was super cool. And she was also quite excited about the brand and what Joint Juice can be. So we had a lot of these discussions. And then she invited me to a 30th birthday, I remember. It was a Cafe Royale. You had like, lots of Aristo guests and like these, socialized, like Tatler was covering that birthday. And it was like 30 people, Cafe Royale. Again, like, Tatler covering. There's lots of apparently well-known people. I didn't know half of them. And there was this random bloke from Joe and the Juice, and that was just hilarious.
But you were just treated like a norm, right? Like someone like that. Then no one did it better than I did, didn't they?
Yeah, and then I think this was where I met actually that night I also met the owners of Tonteria. At that point, obviously, it was Guy Pelly, who obviously had a super successful career building fantastic
Yeah.
nightlife brands, was Mark Burton.
Yeah.
Obviously, one of the OGs of nightlife, bar sector, fashion as well. And at that point, I think he was just finishing a book with Steve Forbes about it was called Successonomics, about building successful businesses. This is young successful entrepreneur, and yeah, long story short, they offered me a job and they said, look, we want you in our team. We want to give you 3 months to show your worth in our marketing team. I want you to help with events, with strategies around communication, and basically like the things you've been doing, building community around the John Juice and the piece of marketing. Is like, how can we do this at Tantaria? And it was mind blowing. And yeah, I think again that was also quite key. I think it was a key moment for me, because I went from thinking, okay, well, hospitality is fantastic. I see a bit of that operation, see the opportunity. I see how much missed opportunities there were at that point. I thought at Joe, whilst obviously they're doing so many things amazingly, but then I was suddenly even more responsible for the revenue. I saw even more how this business are run.
Yeah.
And I think, and I started doing crazy stuff. I mean, we probably don't have time to go over this today, but I really started going further. It's like, okay, if we're a community business, how do we go further?
Well, to be fair, you had money to spend as well, right? Because that venue had to show its value. Right?
Yes, but actually, what was quite interesting is that I think, Mark, Guy, and Alanda, the founders, they were, because it was also a joint venture with the Slonska Hotel, who were very strict about budgets and everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There was never spending money. Like, I think it was very different to a lot of bars and nightclubs at that point were run, and I thought that was amazing because they found it really worth thinking. These are the budget, here the numbers. They were very analytical about this, and they wanted to ensure that we never spend on things that don't generate value. Like they almost they never were getting big DJs or big acts to perform, and they always said, like, guys, we need to make it work without this. They said, I know all the other nightclubs pay these crazy amounts of money. No, we're not about this. We're not going to compete there. How can we build a community? How can we build marketing strategies? How can we, create this brand in the area that can attract the right people and attract like the right clientele? And yeah, we've done crazy stuff. It was so creative, very hard, lots of work. I mean, I was working my ass off there. I especially back then, I had the tendency to overwork myself. But yeah, I thought we had a successful run, and but then when I was turning 21, I think a month later, the guys offered me a head of marketing job, which was sort of an appreciation of the sort of first 6, 7, 8 months that I've been there, and I delivered, and that was awesome because I had even more responsibility, and all of this journey was just sort of giving me more and more understanding of how fantastic, how special that industry is, but also the gaps, the needs, the requirements, the potential that should be unlocked with the use of the right tools. And then at some point I moved to the Cool Club, which was sort of like a side effect of the fact that I started. I started it was also a pure coincidence. It feels like all of this was a pure coincidence.
To be fair, I have to say, it's all feeling, the whole thing from starting feels like the right time and the right place, right? It's all just fit in.
But I do believe it's like you attract these things as you go, and I think if you're open to it, if you treat everyone with the right respect, excitement, and you're genuinely passionate about things, like it just attracts. But then because I started my first business at that point, and it was sort of like it was meant to be a side project. It started becoming something. It was a fashion brand that I had with a close friend of mine. She graduated at that point around she was graduating from London Culture Fashion around that point, and I guess that was the thing where the guys in Trier, they were opening another side. They were growing. They were like, look, we need our head of marketing to be 100% focused on this. So if you want to pursue your own thing, like we should probably part ways. So we did. And then the guys at Cuckoo, one of the guys that found out why I'm leaving, because everyone was quite in shock, because I guess Tantaria was me. I was Tantaria. I really took this as my baby almost. So people were pretty shocked, and they offered me quickly a job. They knew I'm building my own business as well, so they right away said, "Look, you're fine to do this." I had offers from other places and places that were very well, I guess, competing with Tantaria. I said no, because I said I'll never take something which is not competing. The Mayfair scene was still quite far, different clientele, different format, everything was different. So I took that job, and And that was actually, again, yet another experience, seeing even bigger business, how it's operated. I mean, Kuku was making tons of revenue, and I think seeing, again, the good things and why it was making the money, but also what else could have been done. And yeah, I think we've done a good job. I think that the 2 summers in a row, I was sort of there. We were doubling the revenue compared to previous summers. I mean, obviously it was a team effort.
Yeah.
There was a few people that...
So what did you go in as marketing director?
Yeah, correct.
Nice.
Yeah, it was the same.
Can I tell you something really interesting? Because it's all very much 3 degrees of separation. So I met Guy Pelly when he worked at Mahiki.
Yeah.
And Mark. So I met them I met them with peers back in the day. And so you saying Guy Pelly and Mark just throws memories of way back when. Because the guy started, little fresh boy, bright red cheeks, sitting in next to peers at Mahiki, working there. And his first interim. So it's really interesting to see the other side, because obviously they left and did their own stuff, and Mark, both of them are awesome. Kai's guy's in America now, right? So it's just, I had to just let you know, because it was really interesting you saying that and listening in, because they were, from when I originally met them, they were just little fresh faced little guys, right? So it's really interesting to hear the other side.
They've done well. I think I was also then lucky that at Cook also met incredible people. I worked directly under David Lawrence, who then ended up launching Lunas, the obviously electric vehicle company that David Beckham invested in, and tons of other people. And obviously they're all over the news. I mean, one of the most probably exciting startups within the EV world. So again, I was very lucky to always be surrounded by extremely inspirational and fantastic people. But yeah, that was the
with no sleep.
With no sleep.
Because it was nightclubs.
And I was one of those guys that really, I wouldn't really drink. I thought about it always like a business. So I'd be there in the office. I mean, I was usually first in the office, or one of the first in the office, and really looking. It's okay, the work has to be done throughout the day. We need to plant things, we need to build things. And then the night, it was just more me. I want to make sure that it works. I want to make sure that everything is great. I had this obsession about, really driving this business. And I think, obviously sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the one thing I'm pretty sure no one can say that didn't put my entire heart and effort into that. And I think, that was, and around that time, that was where, my business partner and myself, we decided to start Embargo. For us, it was, so I met Sawang, who did 10 years in investment banking. At that point in Tantaria, he was a regular. We, by coincidence, became friends. And I think, we're just friends for a while. And then we started talking more and more about hospitality, about how it's run and how it's completely differently run to any other consumer business or other consumer business. He obviously had exposure on a more sort of corporate level. He worked with, massive consumer brands, consumer businesses. I said more on my level, where I would be looking for solutions for a long time, or looking what solutions are out there, and just felt always like it's just not what hospitality needs, or at least not on the SME level. Starbucks does or McDonald's does can be an inspiration, but still you need to build something that can work for smaller businesses. And I think all of this step by step led us to at some point say, we're leaving everything and we're going to go for it. And obviously the rest is history, but it was a genuine love for hospitality, love for solving problems. I think just being hugely inspired by the opportunities that are out there. And
when you met and then obviously became friends, right? And then what, sat down and we're like, was it you having the idea? Was it both of you having the concept, or was it, where did that we'll talk about the name in a second, but where did because Embargo, it's a great name for a nightclub, right? Which is really interesting. But where did that piece start? Was it, obviously, did you bring out your deck that you were dust this off?
No. It was very, very different. I think first it was we became friends, and then we'd talk about, how hospitality is run and a lot of other stuff. And then Sawang first, because he very tech savvy, very much into startups. And then he had this idea, which was completely different to what it is now. And he already had a video for it. Like, he actually put quite a lot of effort and then some money into just creating almost like no MVP, just a video and a deck and what it could be. And it had to do with hospitality. It had to do with trying to help, create more footfall and data for society, but from a completely different angle. And that was the sort of original idea. And then we thought, okay, well, the whole data piece or the building some loyalty piece is fine, but I think the angle that he was trying to go, we realized it might be too difficult too expensive to do. And then, there's another person joining as well. That business, and as we were talking about as we're working on this, like we're reshaping the whole concept of this, and we
it always changes, right?
But even before launch, like there was like way before we launched, it was a long time we're talking about this and refining and discussing, and then we ended up with one thing that we saw. Obviously today Embargo is also something not completely different, but significantly different to that first deck that we put together for Embargo already. Like, I mean, if you think about, if you look at this back, I mean, some basic concept is the same. I think the problem we're trying to solve is the same. It's just the way we solve it is completely different.
Yeah. So let's move on to, you're now all together. You put your plan in action. Was it always Embargo as a name, or was it a different name in the beginning? And I love when people come up with names, because sometimes there's some really interesting names.
So the name Tsewang had for his original idea was different. The Embargo was pretty much very quickly. Then, to be honest, I mean, I think Tsewang is very pragmatic. When it comes to this sort of name, I was quite pragmatic as well. We just felt like if this is going to be successful, and the name almost doesn't matter. Like, maybe we're a little bit too pragmatic at first, but we got lucky because the name ended up being like working for us. I think how we looked at this was very simple. We wanted a word that you spell the same way in every language. Because from day one, it's like, we're going to build this, we want to scale this to other countries, right? We know that's the only thing that interests us. Then we were thinking, okay, well, Embargo, or we're thinking about a few other situations. When he was thinking, what do you think about Embargo? Like, is there any product, is there any tech that reminds you of this? And we thought, like, actually, no. I mean, the only thing, you might connect it to is like Cuban embargo, whatever. But in all honesty, most of our consumers, as we go over, and customers will almost not think about that. I mean, especially now, I mean, Gen Z doesn't know what a Cuban embargo is. And we thought, when Nike set up Nike, everyone knew Nike as a great Greek goddess. No one thinks of a Greek goddess when you say Nike anymore. So we thought, okay, well, you don't really have a correlation with a product, at least within our space. We looked at App Store. We looked, there's no Embargo app or anything similar. When you Google Embargo app London, there was nothing else coming up. I think, the domain was available. It was a case.
It fell into place, right?
But it was also another thing. We thought, okay, how are people going to find out about this? Well, if it's a software that restaurants, coffee shops, or whatever are going to use, well, it's going to be them telling people, hey, just download Embargo. So we thought, okay, it has to be something. It has to be something as well that you remember right away, and then you know how to spell. Because there's way too many names of apps where they say, it's like, okay, how do you spell this? And especially at the beginning, we need to assume there's no marketing spend. You're not going to put billboards in, Piccadilly Circus, right? And telling, not yet, right? But it's at first, it's crucial to get that momentum going. You need something you hear once and you remember it.
Yeah.
And I think that was our key thing. It doesn't matter what it is. It's like, you hear it once, you need to remember it. You need to know how to write it.
Yeah.
Like, you need to know exactly how it's pronounced when you tell your friend, this is key. And it's like, fine, let's just go with it.
I have to say, it does roll off the tongue pretty nicely.
Yeah.
So it really does. Yeah. So I think that's and I've got to you. Okay, so MVP, what happened? Where did it start? Like, I love hearing the journey. I know it's like I know it's always hard, right? Of building stuff, and there's still people out there building stuff. We're building more stuff. It's always fun to hear about it. How you can talk about the journey, or how, if you can talk about it, but how was that journey like getting to that stage? Because obviously there's so many ideas of what to do, and so many things can detract from a product of where you are now is very different. Because listen, in 5 years' time, it's going to be like even more iteration, because you go with the times. But what was the start like?
Yeah, the start was, a very scruffy as it usually is. But I think, our first idea was like, great. So, loyalty, it will work for any type of business, or we can just sell it to everyone. And we almost, because at that point, a lot of my network was high-end restaurants, bars, cocktail bars, nightclubs. We thought, just put it anywhere. And, we quickly learned that this obviously can work almost anywhere, but there's certain type of customers that should be our ICP. And it took us a while to understand that. So that's first of all. I think it's, if I had to go back, I would work on the ICP. I mean, at that point, I even know what an ICP is, but really, it's like nail that sort of your first 100 raving fans, 1,000 raving fans. Like, who are those businesses? Who are those consumers? That will launch quickly. They will stay without you having to beg them to stay. They will enjoy using it and tell others. So I think, first we were just literally, any hospitality business. Secondly, as well, I think something we should have, understood better from day one is UX UI is key. Like, it's just so key. I mean, I think, if you ChatGPT did something completely groundbreaking in terms of R&D, people I think it's still important to make it good, but I think you can get away with some stuff. But if you're doing something in a market where first technology is not easy to launch, or at that point it was, hospitality wasn't even thinking about technology or not much, you need to nail that. And I think at first we almost were a little bit too oh, okay, that's fine. We'll polish it out.
Yeah. I have to say, that's when it starts to get a bit expensive, doesn't it? As well.
Yeah.
So,
well, yes,
the UI UX, depending on the people that build the UI UX,
sure.
they're there for a reason, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
But
I think is, a lot of the stuff that you learn. But for us, it was more about, for us, what we said is, it might be a thing that, we nail and understand the product market fit within six weeks, 6 months, whatever, a year, but it might take longer. But what we knew is that there had been I always said it had been a graveyard of solution trying to make customers more loyal, give businesses data, help them to, help SMEs to grow sales or whatever through different ways. And we thought we're definitely not going to be one of them.
Yeah.
We have to nail this.
So when was the pivot to you realized that QSR, fast service, quick service? When was that?
I mean, so first of all, there were other things that we really understood. I think for us was to understand that when we launched the app, is what is the value for the business really that they want, that they should be looking at. And I think for us then it was it needs to be a CRM system. It needs to be data driven. It needs to empower these entrepreneurs and managers to use that data that they capture to interact with these consumers. And then obviously we're very strong about it has to be an app, so it creates engagement. If it's just an email, that's it. It takes you nowhere. It's always a limitation. It has to be engaging. There's a reason why the biggest consumer brands in the world invest so much in apps, because they know this is what drives real value. Not a wallet pass, not there's just an email campaign that is triggered or whatever. Website based app, that app is actually quite key. Now, we started setting up more and more QSRs at some point where we're still pre-revenue. And we started seeing, it's getting some traction, but the product was not even made for QSRs. We were constantly fiddling more around those restaurants and stuff. And then I think it was closer, because the funny thing, well, it wasn't that funny at that point. But the interesting thing was that we started commercializing this business sort of second half of 2019, something like that. And as we said, okay, cool, I think we got it. I think, we need to push a little bit more on the QSRs. I mean, we still have lots of bars and pubs, so we don't want to get rid of them. But we started generating revenues. We feel like we're onto something. And then obviously, boom, COVID. And I think then we could stop for a second. And then we knew, okay, well, QSRs are key. We see the biggest traction, biggest adoption, easier to launch. And it's actually, in hindsight, you go this is all rocket science. You can visit your coffee shop or your grab and go restaurant 3 times a week.
Yeah, but do you not think that the COVID thing gave you the opportunity to take the step back?
Oh, 100%.
To overview everything and go, hold on. Because prior you were rolling on, getting new clients.
But even you barely commercialized it. We literally just started commercializing this, and that was late 2008, second half of 2019.
Yeah.
So the good thing is, I guess it happened literally as we just really started commercializing the business. So we didn't have a massive legacy to deal with in terms of, the visions you quickly understand. And then we also took a bet. We went you know what, the fastest to open, the only ones to operate will be quick service, grab and go, takeaway businesses. So if we want to still grow, if we want to still, get stuff done, we got to focus on that. We got to adjust the product 100% to them. And it made sense. We also realized that that's where the adoption is, a massive market. We also realized that actually you can argue that a lot of restaurants and bars can capture some data from bookings or from Wi-Fi or whatever. QSRs is much harder because that, you know, that are much, the time they spend there is just so much.
I want to get in and have my lunch.
Yeah,
I want to get my lunch, get out.
Or the coffee and then see you later, right? So the touch points are very limited. So we thought, okay, if we can nail this, like, the opportunity is massive, right? And again, we looked at, okay, who does it really well on the big enterprise? So it's the Starbucks, it's the Neros, it's the Costas, it's you know, McDonald's. I mean, at that point, McDonald's wasn't that savvy on the apps. Obviously now is. But it's like, okay, so that's where we should go. And yeah, and then I think that really cemented sort of the focus, the ICP. And yeah, the rest of history. I mean, today we're talking about, you know.
Well, I'm going to get you to move just.
Oh, sorry.
Because my camera's. That's all right. You're getting excited, which is good. Sorry. Yeah. So you hit the ICP.
Yeah, we hit the ICP. I mean, you know, COVID was still open, close. It wasn't easy.
I think they gave you the opportunity because there were places, the QSRs, that were still doing pick up and collect, right?
Yeah, but at that point we didn't have ordering. That's the thing. The ordering came later, so at that point it was quite challenging. But we you know, I remember I bought myself a e-scooter so I could travel around London, and I would just literally see who was open. I would sit down with them. I would say, hey, can we have a chat? How do you think the world will look like after this? What are the tools you wish you had before you started? We were literally sitting down. I mean, we're a tiny team at that point. We were literally sitting.
You were
down.
you were having market research is really important, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, it was actually quite cool because there was the only thing I could do, and I said, I'm not going to give up. Like, I'm going to go out there and use the opportunity that is out there. And these people, I mean, they also weren't crazy busy. I mean, some were, but it was COVID, right? They had the time to spend, and I think
they were happy to chat.
And then more of them actually realized, you know what, we need to rethink the way we run this thing because the world is changing and the world changed, and it was quite interesting to see. And I think, yeah, that was the moment where it really started clicking. You could see the vision because you see what these people were saying, what they were looking for, and I think, yeah, that's where we started to work really hard on the product and the sales strategy on, like, how do we sell, who do we sell to? Obviously, it has evolved a lot since then, but it gave us the background and then the base to this. And yeah, I mean, you know, once COVID was sort of, you know, phasing out, I think we finally had the opportunity to go out and grow, and we hired a couple of people. We pretty much haven't changed the size of the team for the last 2.5, 3 years, so pretty much since COVID, not long after COVID. And yeah, we grew since we created that team size, where we would change people, create that team size, we grew 5x or something like that. Yeah. You know, and yeah, we're now crossing 2,500 of these businesses on board, and yeah, it's been an exciting journey. Lots of work.
Milestone as well. I think you posted on LinkedIn. What was the?
There was 10 million transactions on the platform.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's interesting one was that we crossed over 10 million with nearly 5 million. So I think we crossed the 10 million mark around like Jan or Feb or something like that. And it was interesting that nearly around 5 million all happened since Jan last year.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been awesome to see. But naturally, you know, there's still so much work to do.
Of course.
And I think, you know, it's always a product in the making. It's always
originally original, was it just was it the collection of the stamps to start with?
Yeah. We actually started with points, and we realized that unless you have the marketing budget of Starbucks to explain what those points are.
Yes.
In hospitality, people really do understand some sort of digital stuff.
Yeah, it's always been the way, hasn't it, from the beginning?
I mean, I always say, if you think about the most global, successful, common loyalty solution in hospitality, well, there's still paper cards. You know, it's it's you know, if someone was to monetize this whole thing as a whole, it's probably $1 billion company. Right?
So, especially with the amount that have been lost, the amount of paper cards that I have lost over time. Or I turn up with 19 cards and get my free bit.
But for us, it was like, we started with a digital loyalty solution powered by CRM. So I think it's very important for us was like, we really studied what the big ones, why the big brands launch loyalty systems. They don't launch just because they're feeling generous and they want to make people pay less.
No, it's all about the data.
It's about the data, but also not just the data, because let's face it, most SME owners, managers do not have the time and capacity to do crazy stuff with data. So the data needs to be very simple and easy to read, but it has to be actionable. How can we turn that piece of data, that transaction, that email, name, that person using the app, into a simple tool they can use it to re-engage and drive business? It has to be super simple. As simple as collecting that stamp or placing that order. It has to be simple for the owner to go in there and make that data actionable. Because my experience and how I look at a lot of the business out there is just everyone says they give you this, they give you that data, these metrics, but there's nothing you can do with this. And you know, it's just not
So
there.
we had Susan from Kitch on earlier this week, and one of the things she said is there's just not enough resource as well. Even with the smaller, even the larger groups, or even the smaller groups, there's just our owner operators. There's just not enough resource in their team to do it. But if you can put the product in place that can just run it,
Or make
so
it
you
as
put your-
easy as possible.
Right, yeah.
Right?
So
Yeah.
you put the platform in place, you put the automations in place, and you let it run.
Yeah, that, but also it's about, you know, it's about the fact that, you know, a lot of people say they've got all these data pieces and this, and they collected from here and there, and you know, they say how many thousands of email addresses they have, but then now it says, okay, what do you do with this, and how does it impact your business, right? But for us, it was like that was always the first step, because we strongly believe that if we can build something around loyal customers, and that will be key. We need to build something that's plug and play, so you can launch literally. If you want, even if you're a chain today, you want to launch with Embargo, you can literally launch within, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 working days. I think our record launches would go from like saying yes, sending us the details, signing up, to like being live next day. So it's we can do this. So we really thought like it has to be plug and play, because no one has time to fuff around with complicated setups and all of that. Second of all, it needs to be a system that can gain traction quite easy, quite fast, without crazy amount of effort and resources, because as you said, those brands don't have it, and we cannot handhold every customer to do that. We can support on that and give a massive, obviously, you know, set of know-how and best practices, but it needs to be easy for them to gain traction. It needs to be data driven, because the only reason why I do all of this is to then have the data. I always say hospitality businesses are consumer businesses, right? They're community consumer businesses. If your entire revenue comes from these consumers, ideally you know who they are. Ideally you have ways to contact them. Ideally you have ways to reward them and drive more repeat business. And that's the only way to go. You have to fight for that. It doesn't come easy anymore. So if you have the right tools, you can do this. But for us, it was always a strategy or a vision for multi-product, because I think also a lot of these entrepreneurs and managers are, I think, are tired with having to use, you know, 5 different solutions to serve the same customers in terms of on the front end. Fine, back end, you have the POS connected to this, connected to that. That's fine. That's back end operation. On the front end operating system, let's say, you know, ideally goes through one thing. Like McDonald's or Starbucks does, right? They, you know, with the McDonald's app, I can use it to obviously get some special offers out there. I can get some cool communication. I can redeem my points. I can order for delivery, for pickup. I think now you can even tip the teams. Like any sort of interaction, any way I want to buy, interact with the business, me a consumer, is down to this one place, one portal, I would say. There's data driven, there's loyalty driven. Now imagine if we could do the same and empower any size business to do exactly that, but without having to spend hundreds of millions like the other guys, without having a massive team. And that was always the vision. And then, but building those features and those needs and those, you know, sort of products around the genuine like requests and needs of the industry. Because we have everyone on one platform, they all use the same software, which is their software. And we always say it's like your own app on our software. It's like your own CRM on our software. It's like your own ordering system on our software. But because we have them all together, we can really we can really give them opportunities to feed back any needs they have, and then build every product not based on our own ideas or because something broke. We can do this on the collective, you know, ideas that we get all the time. And guess what? If you were even a small coffee shop owner in the middle of nowhere, but you suddenly feedback this great idea and need, and we realize, oh my God, actually this just lights up the bulb inside here. It's like, okay, that's awesome. That would actually help and massively contribute.
I have to say on that, that's an amazing achievement, and also really nice to hear, because there are lots of other platforms out there that no, this is what we do, right? And if you stay in that lane of this is what we do, you're never going to iterate and grow. And we do the same as you.
I think
it's so important.
I think it's important.
And here, and then then you start to release stuff that someone asked for, and it makes them feel happy because then they've got it, but then everyone else has got the same feature too, right? So
for us, is that sort of, we always say the most powerful network effect we have on the platform is it's not just on the users or on the business, it's on the product, because it's just like everything fits in. However, obviously, you know, to caveat that is you also have to digest all of this that comes. You cannot just copy paste everything, because I think, you know, not everything that someone thinks at a given time is a great idea is scalable, usable, and actually will even deliver value for them. And our job is also then someone to go, you know what, think twice about that. Because if I look at the wider data points, if I look at the wider industry, I think this is not a good idea. I remember I had this conversation with a lot of coffee shop owners around COVID. They were on our platform, and that, you know, when Pret rolled out the whatever, almost free coffee subscription, they're like, oh my God, we have to do the same. We have to do this to compete. And remember, I was like, could you guys do this? I said, no. I mean, maybe, you know, we'll add similars one day, but I tell you why we're not going to do this, because you shouldn't be doing this right now.
Yeah.
The reason why someone had already chosen to go to you and pay at that point, whatever, $350, $370 for a flat white, which back then was quite expensive, versus a £1 coffee or whatever, a £2 flat white or latte at Pret, was because they wanted the quality, the experience. They were already going there regardless of the price. So Pret was playing the game for totally different reasons, giving that subscription, because there are other challenges to deal with, which was they had a gazillion of sites and areas that used to be high footfall, now they weren't. They need to bring them back. If someone comes back to the city, they needed to make sure they go to Pret, not the 5, 6, 7 other chains. So it was more their game to play.
Yeah.
Your USP is not that. So like, do not do this, because how much are you going to charge for this? You cannot charge 25% because the margins are gone.
Yeah.
Your margins are not that. And they're like, oh yeah, but they were like, yeah, but maybe, you know, we could probably get it down to like £80, £90. Like, do you really want to make people realize they spend more money on your coffee than on a fancy gym membership?
I like that comment.
The upside of you serving a £3.50, £4 drink is that it doesn't feel a lot as you buy this, because like, oh, £3, £4, whatever, right? For a lot of customers. But once you were to multiply this by 20, 30 times,
First amount.
it's suddenly like, oh my God, I pay less for my fancy gym membership, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. So this is exactly the upside of your business. Once you start putting this into a whole, not only you lose margins, these customers who would buy this would be buying it. Like, it's just,
I can imagine the amount of conversations you've had, because
and this is one of many, but I think you still need to obviously find that balance.
Yeah.
But I think, again, for us, it's like, how can we build this ultimate operating system?
So was it always CRM? Was CRM always in it, or was it just?
It was added. We only started commercializing the business once we added at CRM.
Okay.
It wasn't there at first, but we knew we need to find a way how to make it data driven. Now, so what it is today really is sort of this plug and play loyalty, ordering, and CRM system that's supposed to capture every customer journey.
Nice.
From walk-ins, delivery, click and collect.
Yeah.
You can do it all. You can own that relationship, own these sales channels between you and your key consumers. Because your job today as a hospitality operator,
single point,
is to drive maximum profits and maximum sales for all these sales channels based on the regular customers, and using data and tech to do this, because you can do that.
Yeah, so utilizing the tool to try and engage, and then bring that repeat visit back to at least 2 or 3 more times. Right?
Exactly, repeat visit, orders, direct orders, because, you know, how do you build a D2C ordering channel? Like, okay, you can try website, you can try this.
You know what's funny? I was in, Honey Poke is one of yours, isn't it? Right, so I was in Farringdon probably about, I don't know, a month a bit ago, and I'm walking up and down. Like, we work with Black Sheep and others, right? So, and then I saw it, and I was like, oh, I should walk in. And then I think I have the app, right? So as I walked by, I just opened the app up, and I actually got a deal. Obviously, I wasn't going to go in. I just walked past. But as I walked past, I was like, oh, I think it's on the app, and it made me think of opening the app. I opened the app, and I wouldn't have generally gone in. But there was a deal. I had an offer literally thrown in my face of it, and there was a queue. And I ordered, and I picked up before they finished. So I just had to let
Now imagine, like, so suddenly you have this network effect, because now obviously you as an existing user could have done that, but it's also the power they can do with the existing customers. Like, think about this: you have that one experience to get them on board.
Yes,
you can create and embrace that experience that you just had for the regular customers, so they buy more often. Buy more, ultimately the only way you can increase revenue as a QSR is obviously increase, retention, increase frequency of visits, and increase the ATV. I mean, you're not a business that just runs off random footfall. It's about how many people will walk in and walk in again. Now, it's coffee shops, Honey Poke, so like quick service restaurants. They are businesses that base the success on habits, on building habits. Now, if you break that habit because, there's a queue, or, you know what, like, can't be bothered, if there's not enough reasons or enough tools to make it very easy for these customers to keep coming back. All it needs is like once or twice not going there and going somewhere else. We suddenly break that habit. And you know what? Adam, you might still go there once a week, but you used to go there 3 times a week.
Yeah.
What now? That's 1/3 of your revenue.
So do you guys have I'm assuming you have the automations for the churn management side. So it's like, right, if they've not come, they were coming 3 times a week, they're not, do you then fire?
So they can exactly the CRM, they can contact these people. So we had actually a great case study recently with a very cool and growing bakery and coffee group called Signorelli in Stratford. They've got 4 sites, I believe. And then more coming. I mean, they've got a fantastic team. The founder is just brilliant. She's an ex-Deliveroo, director as well. So she's great. And their stats on the loyalty card are insane. Like, I think some of their sites are like 3,500, 4,000 sees these Embargo transactions every month, right? Per site per month. But what you realized after summer was that out of like thousands of the regulars on the she had on her CRM, it was like, something like 1.7 thousand, 1.6 thousand have not been back for 3 months or longer. So she then created this really cool campaign through push messages, emails, and some in-app offers, like, to get them back with, really well thought offering there. And, without going into details, she managed to get over 50% of these customers back in store.
Sweet.
Which is quite insane, given that also there's a certain rotation of customers that move out or change. You move from Stratford to Chiswick. I mean, you're not going to go to Stratford just for coffee. So pretty insane. And I think we've got more and more of these cases. We have some, coffee shops sharing with us that they're, after starting using the tools, like we're about to post one that the like-for-like revenues in January had been 30% up. And they said literally the only change they had.
January is a dead month.
Yeah, right? They said the only change they really made is they started using the tools in the CRM. Like it's pretty, even for us, it's pretty insane.
Put a smile on your face.
Yeah, it's just because at the end of the day, that's why we do this.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of startups out there, and you obviously always want to talk about, this investor invested, or this investor says that, or whatever, we think this.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, all that matters is what your customers think.
So let's talk about loyalty, because everyone talks about loyalty. Even in casual dining, fine dining, the big word at the moment, which is really good for you, because everyone is on the loyalty bandwagon. This year is like, well, towards the end of last year, but this year is like the loyalty bandwagon. So I feel that you definitely have a flag to fly at the moment, because people are trying to find best of breed, best tools, good tools that are out there. And one of the questions here is like the differentiation, right? So talk to me about traditional loyalty, stamp card, single app, wallet versus what you guys do. So, what's the big differentiator of Embargo versus the rest? I mean, and there's more and more now, right? There's also interesting, there's people that fake the loyalty, right? So they fake it with CRM with a bit of a gift card here and there, and it feels like you're in a loyalty, but there's no real loyalty in it. It's sort of like transactional. Yeah. So there's no scanning. It's just, you've used a token that's then generating automation. So there's lots of fake loyalty out there. It feels a bit like loyalty, but it's really just more of a churn of those vouchers.
No, I think it's quite funny for us to see, because as you said, like a lot of different pieces of social now say they do loyalty, and most of them don't.
Yeah,
most of them don't. I think. And loyalty is just such an overused word at the moment, but it's been for
I prefer the word community.
Yeah,
it's
community.
A good one to use.
But I think it's also understanding what does loyalty stand for? How do you build loyalty, right? And then what are the ways to do? So first of all, there are many ways to achieve customer loyalty, right? Not just technology. And I think no technology can replace a bad or make a shit product work, basically, right? And the other way around. So I think, again, a lot of things need to fall into place in order to build customer loyalty. But I think it's a bit like, there's a lot of businesses that do coffee. I mean, even your chicken shop down the road will serve it.
Yeah.
Now, is this coffee the same as the coffee you get, I don't know, Redemption Roasters, down the road? Probably not, right? But you can say, well, this is coffee and this is coffee. They both say they serve coffee, but that chicken shop is not a specialty coffee shop. And that's not what they actually do, right? And if I want to have a best-in-class coffee, I should probably not go there and ask them how to do that, right? I should go to the guys at Redemption Roasters. So anyway, so how I see this is the following. I think when it comes to QSRs, when it comes to quick service, I think I can very confidently say we have the best product on the market. And of course, you can say I'm biased, but I'm always looking for better products. I'm actually generally And I always applaud a lot of great products out there and why they're better. So I think for a QSR, growing QSR, we're the perfect solution. Why? Because it can give you an opportunity to build loyalty across every customer journey. And for us, loyalty is not just, hey, here's a free coffee or something. It's active loyalty, like the big guys do it. So there's a lot of solutions that just issue a wallet pass. Fine. I mean, if you just want to have this passive solution and your view of loyalty is just to ensure my customers don't complain that there's no loyalty card, that's fine. Then you use a wallet pass or you print cards. It almost doesn't matter. But if you want this to be super engaging and working well and driving revenue and business, that you can use it to, use it in store, or that you want to right away, get a push message, something, just click and order from it. Delivery, pickup, in store, you want to leave a tip, you want to redeem a special offer, a gift card, like everything embedded in one. Because at the end of the day, there's one consumer. The one thing the consumer ideally doesn't want to do is have a complicated system where there is 20 tiers and 5,000 different points, and you almost need to print a whole A5 sheet to explain how it works.
Yeah.
This is not going to work. Tesco can do this because you go to grocery stores and you can explain how it works.
Yeah.
Not in a fast-paced environment. It has to be as simple as a paper loyalty card almost, but give you the range of tools to use that loyalty as an active tool to boost sales. That's what we say. Every time we move someone from a wallet pass solution, white label solution, paper card, it's always like, they just get significantly more traction and value. Recently, Redemption Roast is a great case. I think that they're on at 1 year, 1.5 years. I can't remember now, but quite a while.
Yeah.
Within 8 weeks or less than 8 weeks in Embargo, there are already more people using the loyalty card, engaging with this, and actually being on the CRMs than they had throughout the whole time there.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that the app was wrong, because it's also not the case. It's about at what point you decide that. If you're a Starbucks, McDonald's, fair play.
Yeah.
But I've seen businesses in the UK that have 100+ locations. You go on the App Store and you see the ratings, like 2 out of 5, 2.4. It's like, is this really the at the end of the day, you're giving this to your
I asked it to interject a little bit. I think it also is very much the education piece, right? So if you're all behind your product, you're going to work with them to make sure that they educate their customers the right way, because that's you backing Joe at the Juice, doing your thing and showing them how, right, this is true hospitality, this is how it is. So I think you have a bit of a unicorn position, really, because other platforms out there don't have you and your brain and how you see it. And you'll go in and you'll go, right, this is, and it's not just sign up and piss off, right? Yeah. It's sign up and then this is the world, right?
No, but I mean, the interesting part is this is default. We offer monthly rolling contract.
Yeah.
That's how confident we are about the product.
I love that. Yeah.
Because
we're the same.
Right?
Yeah.
And the second thing as well is, it's about so look, I think there's a lot of good products out there, and I think they're good for certain needs. And I think, look, if a customer's looking for something just as passive there, they don't want to deal with this. There's so many solutions.
I just think the difference is that you are so passionate about what you do and what you want the customer to be able to do, that when you onboard them, they don't just get I haven't been onboarded, I don't know, but what I'm getting to feel is that the drive behind you is, we want you to succeed. Like that, our ethos is, for us, is we can make you more money, we bring you more data, we bring you more people, you make more money, you open new stores. And it's similar to what you are as well. And I literally feel it like in my bones right now of you going, right, so it's not just sign up and off you go, bye. It's very much
speaking 2 years when the contract expires.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very much, and also because you're monthly as well, you want them to see value in it. So I think it's really interesting and it's important. And for other people to listen as well is, there's the onboarding piece, and we do the same. It's hand-holding it all the way through, making sure they understand it, but then have that passion, which you've talked about it all the way through, of this is how it worked, this is what it can do for you, and it's amazing. So that sort of thing. I think that's what is a missing piece, might be a missing piece from others. That's why when they come to you and you do the onboarding with them and you go to their team, they take that whole inspiration of the story you've given, because it's all about storytelling, and it gets deployed out. So I think education is a big piece. If they just switched the app and didn't tell anyone, and just did like other brands where they just go, new app, both of that, and it's all gone quiet, there wouldn't be as a good engagement. I think the reason that it's worked so well is you have the story to tell, and you have the onboarding or the team to go in and show than what it is. I think that's a very different piece.
I think for us as well is like, if you were to summarize it, that's, the even on the product side, and I think I would like to think that our passion, almost obsession with the product development is really seen there. Is like we're the only solution that is plug and play, that they can launch very quickly without building and spending money and having a whole team, right? You can launch right away, but that actually captures every customer journey in one system, the walk-in, delivery, and pickup. Because you should be building loyalty and driving sales in a data-driven manner, in a loyalty-driven manner across all these sales channels as a QSR. And then, because then what you have a lot of systems that are sort of in-store, but that's it. And then it's like, okay, well,
third party
that's
this,
fine.
third party that, yeah.
Or some of they do very good online ordering, but then the in-store really sucks. And then obviously you don't open a coffee shop or a quick service restaurants just to do online delivery, right? So it's like, how can you combine this whole thing? And then again, it's like, how can the CRM piece be super powerful? Because if you then have to outsource the CRM yet again, it just, it all can sometimes become a bit funny.
I'm with you. I get it.
And then the last thing is, how can you ensure that you always give that, because this is the product that you're going to give your most valuable customers, the same way you're going to give them the food and the coffee and the drinks, etc. So here, what we say is it's a 4.9 out of 5 App Store rating solution. We don't know any food and drink app with at least a few hundred or 1,000 ratings that is at 4.9 out of 5. We haven't found it yet. I mean, if you guys found it, please send it to me, because it's hard. So you almost get that, like, you're giving the best in class, by far the number one quality product to consumers. You don't have to build something and hope it's going to work and then, work for years to make it work and then end up with a 2.1 or 2.4 App Store rating. Because then this is almost like damaging the brand. Like, how can you give them the most amazing coffee service, everything, and then give them that? Like, it just doesn't work.
No, I get it.
So I think this is for us the sort of differentiator, and then the alignment of interest. What you said, if I was just to build something, give it to you, my margin is investing throughout the time of the contract as little time and effort and resources as possible. That's why I make my margin.
Yeah.
Here, we work 24/7 on that product because it's the same software, literally the same platform used by all these businesses. So all the development, if we do it based on one key feedback on one key thing we found, it right away impacts the entire platform. Our interest is to work 24/7 on that, because that's literally the only value of what we're building.
Yeah.
So it's in our interest to make it better and better every month. So what would almost think about it, you have a team spending big amounts of money on tech every year to make your loyalty card, your ordering system, your CRM better every day without even thinking about this. When you sleep, when you focus on serving your customers, we work 24/7 on making it better and better. And every week, every few weeks, every few months, there's a new release, a new update. Yeah. And how we look at the product, we have this rule in the team. It's when it comes to products, strategies, whatever. If we ever look at our product from a year ago, and we don't look at it almost like, oh my God, that's so shit. Like, it's almost embarrassing what we had a year ago. It means we're not developing it fast enough.
Yeah.
That's the ethos.
Yeah.
And once you can deliver that sort of value to an SME who would have otherwise have to do what Starbucks and McDonald's does, which is spending hundreds of millions of dollars every year on tech, I believe that's the future.
Yeah. No, right? I agree. I love it. I love the passion. All right. So what do you think is next? What do you think's coming? And is there new stuff coming that you can share?Maybe let's keep that, and then we'll go to the final questions.
Sure. Yeah. No, we're going to keep developing the product. We just released our new app version that was our biggest one yet. We've rebuilt a lot of things. We worked on this over a year. It's something that really sort of takes it to the next stage, the multi-product strategy that we've embraced, when launching delivery and pickup. What was like, we beta launched, I think 1.5 years ago or something like that. Yeah. 2 years ago nearly. But it was like a beta launch, and everything until then was to prepare the new app version that is really focused on driving sales, not just for in-store, but online as well. That's released now, so we're moving into that sort of full stage of ordering a rollout.
Yeah,
we're working on web ordering as well. I mean, it's something we'll be launching this year as well. So things will be ultimately able to build loyalty and enrich the CRM and drive sales through the app.
Yeah,
in-store delivery, pickup, and website as well. So it's all embedded into one. again, keeping the sort of best-in-class solution, keeping the network effect as well. Why it's all branded. It's because we always say Embargo. When you look at the particularly the new one now, when you update this, it's when you launch as a brand, it's like your own app, our wallet, and same thing will be with the website. And there's a big piece on the CRM we're going to start working on this year. I don't think we're going to release it until next year, but there's a lot happening around automation, machine learning, etc. Not much more I can say, but it's a big, exciting project.
You're plugging in the smarts to it.
Yeah,
actually, which is exciting. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, thank you. I'm going to give you a little round of applause. You have a lot of passion into it. I can feel it. So thank you. It was really interesting to hear the journey as well. Yeah. So and our little connection, which is fun. But it's really interesting. All right, so we're going to go into the final questions, which is best restaurant.
I guess I mentioned two that I absolutely adore in London. However, one of my best restaurant experiences ever, that was 2016, I believe, was in Rome. It was a Michelin star restaurant called Embargo. It's just at the top of the Spanish Steps. Mind blowing. The view, the service, the food. I don't do fine dining very often, but I had been to multiple Michelin star restaurants throughout different occasions, and this was by far the best experience. So Embargo in Rome, I hope it's still as amazing as it was. I hadn't been for a few years. So yeah, definitely recommend it.
Best burger.
Ooh. It's a tough one because there are a lot. I remember during the juice times, that was when Tommy's Joint Burger started as well.
I love Tommy's.
And the guys at Joe really knew, I think, one of the founders, some guys behind it. So they took us once there, and I was blown away. I was like, I love the casual setup there.
Yeah.
How you could add all these little, elements into this. So I love that. I always loved Pâté and Bun. Always a big fan. I think the product has always been amazing. There are a couple of others that I really like. I think Truffle Burger are doing an amazing job as well. Yeah. They're fantastic.
Second shout out this week, actually. You're the second person.
But the product is fantastic. And then when it comes to more like, I literally had it today. I'm a massive fan of X-Lad as well.
And they're not a client yet, or you're working?
They
are. They are a client. They are a client. Nice. The one down from here.
Yes,
is awesome.
Yeah. Well, they actually dropped their own app and moved to us.
Did they? Yeah. Nice. Okay. So last question. Best hotel.
So I think in terms of business wise, I think what Hoxton Hotels are doing is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
From a business perspective, in terms of a hotel that I think has an awesome offering for locals, so not for just travelers, is the Nomad Hotel. An addition in terms of the bars and everything. But one hotel is very dear to me, and I love sort of going there. But I haven't stayed there actually, but it's the Little Beach House Barcelona on the suburbs of Barcelona. So they have this beautiful hotel on this tiny little beach in this tiny town which has literally a couple of houses, and I think it's one of the nicest places in the world that I've been. So I think those would be
amazing. Okay, two questions for the next guest.
I'm sure a lot of them obviously either run businesses or are somehow involved in running businesses. What is the one thing that you would have done completely different if you had started again? And what is the one thing that you had done was probably a mistake, but if you had gone back, you probably should have done it again because obviously it impacted the success in the end. So one thing you would love to have changed, and one thing that was an absolute mistake, but it had to happen.
Yeah.
And then the second question is, what's your go-to sort of inspiration podcast, whatever? Because I feel like we do live from a business perspective in many challenging times. But I always say the more challenges there are, the more opportunities there usually are. And I think it's good to have some source of inspiration and wisdom on a regular basis. And you have to be very disciplined. I think it's almost like, when you're a little bit sick or you had an injury, this is where you have to be very disciplined about what you eat, how you walk, how you exercise. And I think now it's again
for your mind, right?
Yeah, it's again, you need that discipline. You cannot just wait for some inspiration, mental support, or whatever come by.
Yeah.
You need to be disciplined to work on this and source it and make sure that you find time for this every single day.
Love it. Very deep, very deep. All right, amazing. I'm going to give you another little round of applause.
Thanks so much.
And give everyone a wave goodbye. Oh, before, where do they get the app from? It's not hard to find, to be fair.
No.
And there's a mental amount of brands on there now. So
there is indeed. Yeah, well, just first of all, you can hit, you can go to App Store, look up Embargo. Well, actually, Embargo Wallet as of today. We even changed the app from Embargo app to Embargo Wallet because that's literally what we're building, we realized. Or you can go to our website, embargoapp.com. You can find a lot about what we do, how we support businesses, how you as users can use it as well. So yeah, but ultimately, we're here to support. We're here to embrace, the digital.
You're giving the big boy tools to others.
And I think we're not. And I think something I wanted to finish on. We're not the first ones to do that. I think what the likes of Shopify, etc., have done. This is literally what they've done. They've democratized access to powerful e-commerce technology in that they were doing e-commerce. We do something else. But they almost allowed, people like us. If we wanted to start selling whatever, like pillows, we could set up this super sick, slick, powerful e-commerce tonight, probably, right? Before solutions like that, or
a little bit different though, because they got someone to phone. You can't really call anyone Shopify.
True.
But no, I'm with you.
I think it's like how can we embrace that? How can we democratize access to powerful, data-driven, revenue-driving technology that can really make a difference. So for any size business.
I'm just going to make some nice clips. So give everyone a wave goodbye. Thank you very much.